Emil, it's Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. Welcome to my takeout, my Emil Amok's takeout, my takes on all things considerable. Oh, you know there's a joke in there somewhere about some place I used to work far, far, far in the past. But now here we are. Here we are on this medium. I don't know what you call it, secret podcast. We're on the internet. I just was reading a story that broke my heart that CBS News is going to be kaput, ended. Barry Weiss, I mean, you could tell that there's some animosity with the reporting or in the reporting when they called her Barry Weiss, the head of the New York of CBS News and former opinion journalist, to diminish her. Well, I mean, she's the belle of the ball. She was picked by Paramount to demolish CBS, and she's doing it one bit at a time. She's going after radio, CBS radio. And that's where all the great CBS News reporters made their mark. Edward R. Murrow, Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather. And then later they moved on to TV. It's, all these legacy media. I mean, radio is still powerful, even though we have all the digital stuff, digital audio, podcasting and whatnot. We have newspapers doing podcasts. We've got, legitimate news organizations doing podcasts, but they don't cut into radio. Radio, the free waves. I mean, this is the thing that gets me. Broadcasting, it's that miracle of the free, airwaves, free signals, transmitter to transmitter, free. And now they figured out, capitalism has figured out how to sell the waves by just forgetting about the waves. Hey, we'll plug it in. We got cable. We've got dish to dish. We got satellite. Well, forget the airwaves of broadcast. But broadcast really is, it's kind of a basic miracle technology that connects people, and they're just dissing it. CBS News saying no radio, forget radio. And you know what this means? I mean, people still listen to FM, although it was AM dominated years, for decades, and then AM, lousy signal. Let's go for the better signal, music, FM, and then all the talk went to FM. And we still listen to radio in our cars, but here's the thing: as soon as they allowed CarPlay and allowed you to put Bluetooth on your phone, or on from your phone to your car, and to listen to podcasts. Wow, I mean that was kind of it for radio. I mean the downward spiral. I'm sad about CBS News going kaput. I mean they just ended it. That a second round of layoffs. First round was a couple months ago. Now they're going to get rid of radio. Who knows what they're going to do over there at CBS? But as Nikki Glazer she coined the joke, CBS, the best place to see BS news. Sad. Anyway, we're here. Look, before we go, I'm going to bring up Daniel Phil Gonzalez. We're going to talk about Cesar Chavez. Story broke on Wednesday. I put something on Substack, my column on Substack, Emil Amok's Takeout. Also, I put something on theinquirer.net talking about, well, what's next? And I didn't know what was next on Wednesday. I talked to Johnny Itliong, Larry Itliong's son, and he said, well, yeah, they should just name all the streets that they named Chavez after Itliong. And then on Thursday, after the story broke, people said, hey, we're going to cancel everything, call it Farm Workers Day, not Cesar Chavez Day, and we're going to change all the streets to, people were saying Dolores Huerta needs to be honored. And look, I don't want to take anything away from Dolores Huerta, and as I explained in my piece, I thought the story was, it would only be worth its salt if I heard what Dolores Huerta had to say. And of course, she's in the story as a victim. And that's why I have some problems with it. Because she herself said, I can't come forward. I never came forward. I never shared the secret about having been raped by Chavez, and knowing what I knew about Chavez and his dalliances with all sorts of women and girls, and impregnating Dolores Huerta twice. She gave up those kids. I mean, she knew the sordid tale, but she never came forward. Why? Well, all right. We know why. I mean, the women are conditioned to not come forward. But we're talking about Dolores Huerta. Shouldn't she have stood up and said, "Hey, enough's enough. Here's the truth." And the fact that she didn't talk the truth, doesn't that make her complicit a little bit? I mean, I just I just have my doubts about what she's saying now. I have no doubts about the story. The investigation by the Times, the New York Times, I think is ironclad. Well, it's strong. They talked to 60 people, investigated for 5 years. They've got the goods. They've got the story. People have been talking about this for years, but now it's documented. There are victims. The fact that one of the victims is Dolores Huerta is just astonished me. I mean, I wasn't expecting it as I read the story. And then I was wondering. I was saying to myself, what is Dolores Huerta saying? And of course, there she is in the story as a victim. So I just say it's unfortunate that Cesar Chavez, even though a lot of people knew about these stories through community gossip and whatnot, the New York Times investigation shows that it's more real than not. Still, Chavez has been dead a while. Died in 2010, I think. I mean, the fact is he's not here to defend himself, but the people who would be loud in defense of him aren't saying a thing. I mean, in fact, the loudest person in defense I would have thought would have been Dolores Huerta, but she is saying she's a victim. So, forgive me for saying this, but it's kind of convenient now for Dolores Huerta to come forward after all these years of being quiet. Why didn't she come out sooner? 10 years ago. The Times was just looking into this the last 5 years, but why didn't she come out 10 years? 20? She's held this secret 60 years. And that's why when I first heard the story, I thought, oh, the cloud that Cesar Chavez was over Larry Itliong has now been removed. And that's a good deal. So should Larry Itliong, one of the real founders of the UFW, because it was his agricultural growers of the AgWalk, they called it. Agricultural workers of, I forget, Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee, I think is the name, AgWalk. They were the Filipinos who first went on strike. There was no UFW. Cesar Chavez was not even a union organizer. He was convinced by Itliong and the others, the Filipinos, to come forward. Google Itliong, Emil Guillermo, Delano grape strike, and I write an NBC News, and I've written that story on the 50th anniversary. At the 60th anniversary, people started talking about Chavez and about his dalliances, his predatory behavior. And now we have the stories come out. What should be done now? Larry Itliong? My initial reaction was Larry Itliong should be honored. The cloud has been lifted. All praise should go to Itliong. Dolores Huerta wasn't in the picture, really. She came later, and she was important, but she also was she complicit? I'll bring up Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, to talk about this in just a second. But first, I want to talk to you. Look, if you didn't go to my show, my one-man show, Emil Amok Anchorman, in San Francisco, done. But I'm going to bring it back. The show's going to evolve. If you saw it and liked it, come back again. Probably in the summertime or in the fall, I'll do it again, because I'll have taken it to Atlanta and San Diego and Canada and a lot of different places, coming back through here before the election. And yeah, Emil Amok 69 will go through a revision. It was great as Anchorman, great as Emil Muck 69 over there at the playground SF on Potrero Hill. But if you really want to see me, 5 minutes, March 25th, 8 p.m., Roosters in Sunnyvale. I usually do theaters, but I'm doing a comedy club because I'd like to play Roosters. So if you want to see me, go to Roosters on March 25th, next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Tell them Emil sent you. There, if you're watching this on the screen, go to Roosters, roosterteethfeathers.com. Get your tickets for Wednesday, March 25th, 8 p.m. I'm part of a big competition. That's why I'm doing it, because if I do well, then I'll be playing Roosters maybe more frequently than not. And I like to play Roosters is one of the legacy comedy clubs in the Bay Area, South Bay, right? So check me out at Roosters in Sunnyvale, March 25th, Wednesday, 8 p.m. And check out the tickets there, roosterteethfeathers.com for tickets. Tickets are like, I think, 12 in advance, 15 at the door. Just go ahead and get them now and just say Emil sent you. I think they'll give you an extra pat on the back. Rooster Teeth Feathers, I'm there. I'm doing a 5-minute set, March 25th, 8 p.m. Emil Amok doing his comedy thing. And now we return to our regular scheduled programming. Let's bring up Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez. We're talking about the Cesar Chavez story, which broke on Wednesday. My column was on theinquirer.net. I also did it on Substack. Check it out there. Read it. Findings based on interviews with more than 60 people. This is a New York Times investigation. And I want to bring up this point with Dan. Let's bring up Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend. Hi, Dan.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah. College of Ethnic Studies, Asian American Studies, San Francisco State University. And Dan, Scott Kurashigi on Facebook pointed this out. He said, before we get into the guts of this investigation, there was a paragraph that he took issue with. He said how the investigation included interviews with top aides at the time, Chavez's relatives, and former members of the UFW, which he co-founded with Ms. Huerta and Gilbert Padilla. Now that is a kind of you need an asterisk there, don't you?
Yeah. I have a lot of other reasons that I would prefer that Dolores Huerta remain a person who is describing her circumstances with Chavez, and that she not be considered in this whole process of determining what's going to happen to all of the places and things that have been named in the name of Cesar Chavez.
Yeah,
and they had, actually, the family pronounced his name Caesar. It's interesting,
Caesar, yeah, Caesar,
very,
like Hail Caesar,
very American, yeah, Caesar.
Yeah. Well,
But anyway, yeah,
but
Huerta. I have to say, Huerta was around. Okay,
yeah,
she was not. She was already a significant influence in '65, and she had come. Interestingly, you mentioned Itlion. They knew each other from Stockton.
yeah.
Okay, they both came out of Stockton, and so one of the reasons that I have questions about Ms. Huerta are the positions that she took that clearly diminished the importance of the Filipinos in the general farm worker movement. As you put it, you infer, right, that Filipinos were involved in unionizing farm work well before Chavez was ever an organizer.
Hey,
it's inaccurate to say that he was not an organizer at the time Itliong approached him. Yeah. The National Farm Workers was the primarily Latino and Mexican American group that was approached by Itliong from AWOC, right?
Yeah.
Which you described correctly. And even after all that, it took, I would say, about 30 years. Even though better historians like Howard DeWitt, who is
Mhm.
less published than some of the well-known California historians that
Mhm.
whose books were used in the schools,
Mhm.
from grade school all the way up to the university level. They rarely mentioned the importance of Filipinos in the development of agro industry on the whole West Coast. So
Yeah.
I have problems with them. I have problems with the Huerta very Chicanismo, nationalistic, culturally nationalistic approach.
Mhm.
Uh, she was the reason that Filipinos were made second place and third place positions, even though they had been organizers and had held shop steward positions under AWOC.
Yeah.
And then they were diminished in their they got lower pay. And I remember in 69 or 70, there was a large movement of Filipinos out of the UFW, and they went out and joined the Teamsters
Yeah.
and other unions, rather than stay under, I guess, well, subordinated essentially
Yeah. Well,
to.
this is the reason why, I mean, to go back to Itliong, the reason why I first mentioned Itliong, he was the head of AWOC. There was no UFW. AWOC started the Delano grape strike in
Yeah,
September. It
that's
was
actually.
only a few weeks later that Itliong convinced Chavez to join. And as I heard from Gilbert Padilla, who is listed in the Times as a co founder of the UFW, Gilbert Padilla told me that, well, we didn't, you know, we had a phone, we had a typewriter, we didn't have it, we were like a community group, a social group. They were they weren't a union. And it was Larry Itliong that brought the union, AFL-CIO. It was Larry Itliong that brought Robert F. Kennedy, brought all the famous people to, give the attention to the movement. And as I put it in my column, it was the fact that Cesar Chavez was seen as a saint or as this charismatic figure, different from Itliong, cigar chomping Filipino tough guy, really. Some people would say a little, rough edges. They couldn't. Someone made the decision. You couldn't sell Itliong, but you can sell Chavez to the people, and that's how that narrative took off. I don't know. What do you think? Was that?
I
Have you
pretty much
heard?
agree with that. I pretty much agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And the unions really took to Chavez. The
yeah,
the big unions, and that connection, of course, was a major influence within the Democratic Party.
right, right. Although the big unions, according to Idliong, begged him to come and stay because they knew that Chavez did not have the experience, and did not have the kind of union organizing experience that the union would need to succeed. And but according to Johnny Itliong, Larry's son, the reason why Larry left was he left somewhat graciously, compared to how he could have left. But Chavez, according to Johnny Itliong, ruled with an iron fist, and so did Dolores Huerta. And the Filipinos were, that began the erasure of the Filipinos. And you see it in this story. Do you see it in this
Yeah,
time story?
yeah.
I
Now
mean,
they left in large numbers beginning in late 69 or early 70.
yeah,
We took a trip, about four of us, members of PACE from San Francisco State, including Oscar Peñaranda, the writer.
yeah,
We had one friend and a member of PACE and a theater group that started out of PACE called Ating Tao. And he was from Early Mart, which is just a couple
oh
of
yeah,
miles north
yeah. I've driven
of,
past it.
Delano. And so we went down there to talk to some of the Filipinos to see why they were leaving, and they were hypercritical. of UFW, and they were particularly critical of Huerta.
Yeah.
And this was borne out by later research done by Alex Fabros Jr.
Yeah. But Dan, here's the thing that I don't want to posit it as a conspiracy theory, but here is Dolores Huerta, who for 60 years held this secret. And now it's outed about Chavez. She can't protect the secret any longer. She comes out. She can say anything she wants, really, right?
That's part of the
Yeah. But
problem.
essentially, she is saying, I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Please help me. I'm a victim. And, because, we have empathy, and we know how women were treated then. We know how women are treated now. And we've always revered Dolores Huerta as this. I mean, they put icon status on Dolores Huerta. Si se puede, right? She comes out to all the rallies. She knows how to get people excited. I just think that uh, can you really say she has all the credibility she needs to sort of come out of this and not be somewhat besmirched a little, because she could have come out at any time of the last 60 years. And
Well, her explanation is rather typical,
yeah,
right? She just basically said she feared that it would ruin the movement.
yeah, she was protecting the movement, but you can come back and say, yeah, but wouldn't the movement be better with more ethical leaders? And wouldn't you be an ethical leader if you came out and spoke out against it then,
I
rather
you know
than
I'm
rather
I
than
do I do not subscribe to her position, of course, 100%, but I
yeah,
do I do think that there is a logic there because there was so much investment and emotional investment in the image of Chavez,
yeah,
particularly when he went on hunger strikes that
yeah,
nearly took his life. I mean, there was a lot of comparison
hmm,
between Chavez and Martin Luther King, of
yeah,
course,
yeah,
Gandhi, of course,
yeah,
the South African movement for independence and freedom from uh, uh, apartheid.
yeah,
So all of those things, were part of the mix in the development of Chavez's image.
yeah.
And that's why he got holiday status here in California, and all the good liberals lined up in high praise.
See, at some point though, where do you go from being? I mean, you're the victim and you're oppressed and you are, you have been wronged, but when you keep it silent because you're benefiting from the image of Chavez and what he does with the union, at what point do you say, "Oh, you are now a little more complicit than you think because you're benefiting from this. You are a beneficiary of this man's image that you are upholding." And I mean, how does that impact? Uh, I mean, you can argue that the movement would have been stronger if she had come out and said, we need a better leader because our leader is a liar. Our leader is a philanderer. He's a predator. And I was raped and I had two children with him. And now is the time I will lead this organization. I am Dolores Huerta. I mean, could she have said that?
I think it would have made her more questionable. I think if she had done that, it would have made her more questionable, and it would have been destructive to the movement. It definitely would have been destructive to the movement. There's
Yeah.
no question. That's what I'm saying. I don't subscribe to her 100%, but I
Yeah.
do see her point. I mean, I, yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah.
And you're right. She was clearly benefiting from it, and so I don't want to attribute to her. I don't want to take away from her position, and that
Mhm.
she was a victim. I
Yeah.
don't
All
want
right.
to take away from that.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
No, I agree. And neither do I. But I think now that when you want to talk about, okay, here's Cesar Chavez Day, we'll call it Farm Workers Day. We'll reverse everything about Chavez, take down the signs. Who do we name the streets after? The farmers, the farm workers, UFWA. I think you have to go back to the origins. And the origins of the
Yeah.
Delano grape strike were in 1965. The Filipinos, like Larry Itliong, the head of the Agricultural Workers Organizing Committee, AFL-CIO, the actual union that went in and started the strike. They went on strike. Filipinos are still alive today who were young kids whose families went on strike. Even though some of the original strikers have passed on. But the kids were there, they remember, and they're now in their 60s, 50s, and 60s. And I think they'll all say, Johnny Itliong will say, well, he's biased somewhat, but they'll say, let's honor Larry. Let's honor Larry Itliong. He was a guy. He was a guy who is always in the shadow. In that Cesar Chavez movie, Itliong was sort of mentioned. You see him for a couple seconds, in the vote, in the hall, in the Delano Hall. Anyway, I just think it costs a lot of money to take down signs and put them up, but Larry Itliong is sort of getting some do now just within the last 10 years because of a movement among Filipinos to give Itliong his due. But now, should history honor him completely?
Listen, the movement to get Itliong and other members of AWOC and then during the transition UFW,
Mhm.
it's I would say it's about 50, maybe 55 years old because
Yeah.
members of PACE at San Francisco State found out that the guy who's credited, who actually established PACE, Patrick Saliver, was related to Idleon.
Yeah.
A distant relationship, but nonetheless, it tied the student organization much more closely to Idleon, and it also uh, encouraged more interest by especially the urban students, right, in the farm
Mhm.
worker movement. And definitely, we joined in the picketing,
Mhm.
the Great Boycott, all of that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
The big Great Boycott, of course, started again, as you pointed out, in '65 while I was still in high school.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of back and forth between the
Yeah.
right and the left on whether or not what the union was doing was a good or a bad thing. Conservative priests, where I was going to school at the local Jesuit institution,
Mhm.
um, were critical of the movement, even though some of them were very, let's say, they identified with the
Yeah.
fact
Well,
that many of the organizers were Filipino
yeah.
because they had done time in the military as chaplains, and they
Yeah.
had done time in the Philippines. So there was a priest at SF that's at St. Ignatius that befriended me because of that relationship to the
Yeah.
Philippines and
Well,
Filipinos.
Chavez had, that he had that Catholic image. I remember talking to one of the UFW or AWOC
Ewok.
workers, Ernie Mabalan,
Yeah,
father of
right.
Don,
Yeah, Don's
and his famous quote is because he was part of the march, right? The march to
yeah,
California, from the fields to Sacramento, and the Filipinos were all tough guys. They were all like it was all fight, 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 and they were going to go after scabs. They were going to they were physical uh, tough guys. Even though they weren't large in stature, they just had that toughness. And the thought of hunger strikes or the thought of marching to Sacramento was like so. I remember Ernie told me, he said, we're here to protest. We're here to strike. We're not here to march behind the statue of the Virgin Mary. I mean, but that was like Cesar Chavez's thing. Here's the Virgin Mary. We're marching. We're praying. He was the ascetic, right? He was like the holy man who was going to lead the people. And that was a kind of powerful image. And that only heightens the hypocrisy that we're seeing now that, oh man, he was nothing of the sort.
well, You know, the Virgin Mary worked in the Philippines.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it worked to a degree here too, right? I mean, Chavez was the guy. He was the face, and everyone adopted him as you mentioned Martin Luther King. They saw him as like that kind of guy, and we know that Martin Luther King had his dalliances also, right? Thanks to the FBI, thanks to all the files that they did on Martin Luther King. But the thing about Chavez, a lot of people are now coming out and saying, I knew this about Chavez. I did. There's one writer came out and said, Chavez had a very close relationship with the Synanon people.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. The drug cult. And
That's
when
right.
he said that, I was really, oh yeah, it's true. It's true. I mean, and they were based on Potrero Hill. They had they had it was sort of like a combination Church of Scientology, drug cult, a real there
And
was it was
gang.
very
And
yeah,
gang.
yeah. And who?
They had a gang.
Yeah,
They
a gang.
operated as a gang.
Yeah, well, it was like mind control, and it was behavior control, and that was one of the tactics, apparently according to this one writer, that Chavez used. And as soon as he said Synanon, and when he described it in the first 30 seconds, I said, "Oh yes, Synanon," because I knew some people who were part of Synanon or
Yep.
who were members, and
Yep.
it's as bad as Church of Scientology, only more so, right?
Well, that's once again you're ignoring what I said. I said gang,
Yeah.
Gang. They
Oh
did
yeah, yeah, yeah,
enforcement. They did enforcement. They did physical
yeah,
threat. They did snake in the mailbox stuff. They did that kind of thing, and
yeah, yeah.
that's
That's
gang.
true. That's true. They were, yeah. That's how they control their people. That's how they kept people in line. And
Well, that was a thing in those days. They weren't alone. I mean, gangs ran Chinatown.
mhm,
There were at least 30 gangs in the Filipino American youth community in the Bay
yeah,
Area.
yeah.
I'm talking about the 70s, 80s, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, so knowing that, I mean, I don't think it's far fetched to say that Synanon connection, it kind of, this
That was
was
worrisome. That
yeah,
raised a lot of questions.
his way of consolidating power, and as a way of manipulating people. I mean, you mentioned gang. Uh, I don't know. You can probably see a lot of that kind of thing with our current president, who has a kind of cult like, people have called it a cult like hold on people, where he is a kind of a demigod, and the war is over when I feel it in my bones, right?
Yeah.
There it is. And so it's almost like a leadership thing, a pathology of leadership that
Yes.
is, really, you look back and say, how could people have been so fooled by Chavez? But it's a very alluring thing.
But
You're dealing with
they weren't
Catholics.
fooled. They weren't
Yeah.
fooled. I mean, what we
Yeah.
knew of Chavez that was public and
Yeah.
what we knew of Chavez that was private was not inconsistent with the more positive image that
Yeah.
was used to promote the farm worker movement. And
Yeah.
so I don't have a problem with that. I can understand it. I mean, it's more understandable that people would grow enamored and respectful and admiring
All right.
of Cesar Chavez than it is to understand Trumpers
Yeah.
and his
Well,
MAGA base.
take what people say about, yeah, the MAGA base. That would be like the Synanon, Republican
You
Synanon
got
folks.
it.
Yeah. Right. I
You
mean,
got it.
J6, they
Yes.
got, and they've
Yes.
got the authoritarian, nationalistic.
And
Yeah.
you have 99% of the Republican Party defending J6. What is that?
Yeah.
What do you say that?
Yeah. You know, when we look at Chavez today, I guess he's dead. He can't defend himself. but the goods in the investigation done by um, Manny Fernandez, and he had another co-author. I want to say her name because it really as a piece of journalism. Sarah Hertez, as a piece of journalism, it's an excellent piece of journalism. 5 years in the making, 60 interviews. The only thing I would question is the the way they diminished the Filipinos' role, the way they diminished how
Yes.
how they really pretty much in the names of or in the words of that our writer friend Scott Kurshigi, he said he erased the Filipinos, just like
Yeah.
by leaving out Itliang, by leaving out Awok, by leaving out all that history, and it was just an editor in the interest of time saying, oh, let's get rid of this little detail. You know, the story's already long. Let's get to. I'm surprised they didn't get to Dolores Huerta until like the 10th graph or so. My first reaction was, I think this is when I first heard the story or heard about the story, I said it's all BS until I hear what Dolores Huerta says. And then I found out, or then I read the New York Times piece and I said, oh, where's Dolores Huerta? And she's writing the story as a victim. So I think the story has credibility. So this seals his legacy or unseals his legacy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it does. And
Does it?
the emotional reaction is completely understandable, but people have just got to accept that these kinds of issues about people's psychology and behavior, right, exist.
Yeah.
One of the driving forces, right, for people to become leaders is has a lot to do with their sex drive.
Yeah.
It's undeniable. It's
Yeah.
undeniable. For men, it is a constant. Okay,
Hey,
and it's
that's why we need leaders with low T, man. Low T. We need leaders in their 80s with low T. Bring back Biden. Bring back Biden. He'll know what
okay.
to do with the missile.
I
Bring
don't
it
know
to
that
the
I don't
bed.
know that he was low T. I mean, that's
Well,
not
let's see.
necessarily
He's reading Seamus
that's
Heaney
a hell of an
poetry.
assumption, man. That you know,
All
you're only
right, all right.
getting away with that kind of statement because he's a public figure, and you're
I
protected by Sullivan versus New York Times.
I don't want to diss Joe Biden. I'm much more of a Biden
Everybody
guy.
disses Joe Biden, and I'm sick and tired of the Republicans constantly going back. They have to mention Biden. They have
No,
to do it. And
they
during the Biden, and when they do it, they lie. you know,
no,
they
they
and then they lie.
don't.
It was higher under Biden,
Hey,
right?
they don't have to diss Biden. Look, I apologize for that. They don't have to diss Biden because they could just look at Trump and say, there he is, Trump. Trump's doing it again. He's falling down. He's misspeaking. He's making a joke about Pearl Harbor. I mean, he's upsetting the
To
apple cart.
to the Prime Minister of Japan, who he thought was a man, you know, 2 weeks ago he said him, her,
Yeah.
he, and I
Well, look, hey, on the campaign trail, or no, in his first term, this is how much Donald Trump knows Asia. He called Thailand Thailand. I think he had his mind
elsewhere,
in
yeah, in the
yeah,
domain thereabout in the
yeah,
Shakespearean phrase.
yeah, Thailand. He called it Thailand, and and he's out there saying, I don't know. I think he thinks he's the Strait of Hormuz. He's the straight. I do the YMCA dance, but I'm the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, he does
So
a lovely dance too, doesn't he?
yeah, very lovely, very
Yeah,
lovely. So Dan,
he's got all the
hey,
coordination of a parrot.
hey, Dan, in all the stories subsequent to that first Chavez investigation, now people said, "Hey, this is a lesson for the."
Uh-oh, you broke, you gone. Hello, Emil. Woo-hoo. Yabba yabba. I don't know. I don't know if your audience can see me, but anyway, Emil has disappeared from my screen, and I don't know if I disappeared from his. So I'm going to give it a couple of seconds, and then I'm going to renew or refresh.
Oh, Dan, we lost. Oh, did we get him back? Ah,
You left
Dan,
my
we came
screen.
back. Okay,
You
so
left my screen, and I had to refresh.
yeah. All right. So, as I was saying, subsequent to the initial New York Times investigation, there are all these people talking about, well, what can the left learn? And, like this is only a left wing kind
Yeah.
of thing. But this it can happen in all organizations, left wing, right? Right? Am I
Oh
wrong
man,
here? I mean,
we gotta. Can we move on to another topic? I mean, because we're
well,
starting to really, we're punching the hell out of this issue, and it
well,
doesn't
wait,
deserve that.
well, it does because I'm talking about the the subsequent stories that are coming out now saying this is so the left can learn from this. So there's a lesson. Any organization can learn from this. I mean, look at what they're saying about DHS and Corey Lewandowski, and and what he did with getting contracts at DHS. I mean, people serve self interest before the public interest or before the organizational interest,
Look, what
and
was the purpose? What was the purpose of the farm workers movement? Okay, so that's what you got to look at. Yeah, Leah,
mm,
what was the purpose? What was the motivation? Okay, and so
mm,
yeah, Chavez was not the noble person that everybody wanted him to be.
yeah.
Okay, okay,
Mhm.
but the reality is that the movement that he championed was a noble purpose. All right, what is the purpose of a Corey Lewandowski? What is the
None.
purpose of a Christy
Self
Long?
interest.
What is
Self
the
interest.
purpose of a Donald Trump? What is
Self
the
interest.
purpose of a representative of the Republican Party? What is their purpose?
Self
Okay.
interest. Self interest.
Well, most politicians are in it for self-interest. You know,
Yeah.
Democrats are afraid of Trump for the same reasons that Republicans are afraid of Trump. Okay, because he'll come out and start talking bad about you, and
Yeah.
that's how we got into this situation. It wasn't just the Republicans lined up behind Trump; it was that the Democrats let him. They didn't
Yeah.
fight hard enough. Okay, so
All
the
right.
kind of argument that Ernie Mabalan was making about you call that a movement,
Yeah.
this is what we need to be doing. Oh, you broke up again.
All right. Oh, you're back. You're back.
Yeah,
Okay.
ought to
All
be.
right.
Yeah, there has to be real aggressive behavior. You know, and right now the refreshing thing for me, even though I'm a newly minted independent, right, is that there are
Yes.
younger members of the Democratic Party that are saying the right things, that are
Mhm.
talking about methods, right? How are we going to fix it? What are moves are we going to make? Okay. How
Mhm.
are we going to prevent these kinds of abuses of power from happening in the future? They're
Mhm.
actually coming out and saying those things. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think the older generation Democrats, okay, older generation independents, they got to have a step out of the way and let the younger representative, let them do their thing.
All right.
They have an understanding about what's going on. They're not stuck in trying to explain what the internet is. Okay, they
Yeah.
don't have those kinds of problems, right? They don't have problems trying to understand what TikTok is or Instagram or any of that, and they know what the younger people who are on those platforms are doing. So stand up, stand back, folks. Let those people rip. Let them run. And in California, by the way, get the hell out of the way. Why do we have 8 people running for the freaking Democratic primaries? Get out of the way, man. You know?
Generational. We need generational change, and generational change means someone in their 50s
Yeah, at the most.
at the most. Yeah. All right. One last question on Chavez.
Slotkin was great. At least the
Oh yeah.
Slotkin was really terrific in the statements that she's been making over the past couple of weeks. And she's 49 right now, so she's right there.
All right, so let's one last question about what Chavez does to the movement. He's one man. Does it have a broader effect on the movement? Civil rights, labor rights. I mean, because he represented the merger of civil rights and
The
labor
people,
rights.
the present generation of UFW people and farm workers in general, they have to step forward.
Hmm.
They have to step forward. I'm going to call Bill Tamayo as
Yeah.
soon as we're done, and find out what his perspective is, because he has fought cases successfully in federal court against the big farm industry, the big
Mhm.
corporations, and he is familiar with the young leaders and some of the former farm workers who are now attorneys in their own right,
Yeah.
and who could potentially run for office, right?
Well,
As
you make an excellent point because uh, everyone when they talk about the UFW, they think of Huerta, they think of
think
Chavez,
old
and
generation
the
stuff.
and,
Even
and they
Itleon, even
yeah,
Itleon
and they
and
don't
Veracruz, and
yeah, and they don't know who's out there actually signing the checks and making signing the contracts and negotiating. No, I don't know who the head of the UFW is now.
yeah, me either.
Yeah,
But I bet you
so
it's a woman.
I hope it
Yeah.
is. I mean, but and anyway. And Dolores Huerta is going to be 96 on April 10th.
Yep.
She just well, I think we both agreed that she has a she has a tough story.
She has a spotty career, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, she's great for rallies. When Hillary needed her, si se puede, when they wanted the Latino vote, they bring her out and she's, a great rallying cry. But I think this only hurts her legacy, it doesn't help it.
Yep.
It there's a new cloud over her legacy, and I hope that Larry Itliong, the Filipino, uh, gets unerased and is seen more fully now as the starter of the grave site strike in Delano in '65. All right.
By the way, the current president of the UFW is a woman. It's Teresa Romero.
Oh, great, great. Well, that's wonderful.
But I'm
So
not just talking about her and the people in current elected leadership. I'm talking about people who have fought for workers' rights in the courts,
right.
and in organizing on the ground. And that's why I'm going to be calling Bill Tamayo to find out what his perspective is.
Our abogado friend Bill Tamayo.
Yeah.
So, all right. In some other news, you wanted to talk about, and this is related in terms of what's happening in Georgia and
Oh yeah.
elections. Scott, is it Scott?
Scott Hall.
Yeah. So
Scott Hall pled guilty to, and I got to look at my own my
I
own
mean,
notes.
you brought it up. I mean, this is the thing about when the war is so big, nothing else gets talked about. I mean, this is I hadn't heard this yet.
Especially if it goes against the Trump narrative,
Yeah.
and this
Yeah.
this goes against the Trump narrative. Uh, One of the co-defendants on the conspiracy uh, uh, charges about intentional interference with the performance of election duties in
Mhm.
Georgia, right?
Mhm.
Uh, Obviously, the middle of that was actually the infamous call of Mr. Trump to the the who was he? Yeah, the leader of elections
Yeah. Secretary
in
of State.
Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting their names, but anyway, Scott Hall
Yeah.
was a bail bondsman. That's really interesting in and of itself. He's probably lost his license now, right? Because he's got 5 counts. He pled guilty to 5 counts of intentional interference with the performance of election duties in Georgia. Okay, so there we go. Now, I want to check and see what the possibility for penalties are, and see how much of a serious
Wait.
set of
Wait.
felonies those are.
I can't. I don't see the headline for what happened. What did he do? Because
He pled
he entered
guilty.
he
He
entered a
pled
plea
guilty.
back in September, or he entered a plea back in. He entered a plea a while ago.
Yeah, but he pled guilty. I think yesterday.
I don't see yesterday's story. Well, anyway, all right. So
It was
Georgia. Oh,
in
yeah.
it was in the WAPO.
God, for some reason, there's nothing that comes up as of March 2025. Just the fact that he pled guilty in 2023, and um, so I don't see.
Okay, yeah, I might have picked that up as a late reference.
Yeah, I think yeah. Scott Hall is not. He pled guilty in September 25th. Uh,
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, it's important, but elections are important, and the what the what Trump is trying to do, because the Congress is debating this now, the
That's
SAVE
right.
Act.
You're right. It's an old story. I blew it.
Yeah, that's all right. You're an historian, and it's important.
No, I'm
Scott
not.
Hall.
I'm not as good. Obviously, I'm not a competent historian.
No, 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 no. But that's all right. Look, he pled guilty, and he's the first Trump co-defendant to plead guilty in the Georgia election subversion case. Election subversion, election repression, still a hot topic because the Senate is debating the SAVE Act. And the SAVE Act is going to do away with mail-ins. It goes beyond voter ID. It makes you get a passport, and 50% of the people don't have passports. So, but what troubles me is that they add on top of, saving America is like trying to prevent people from voting, but it's also going after trans people, trans women on women's teams, and surgery for minors. What are we doing with the SAVE Act? Donald Trump is making this the main thing about his. I mean, he's got the war, like he needs the main thing, but he's trying
Uh,
to make the SAVE Act as his signature, not making costs lower, but trying to save America this way. What do you, I mean,
oh,
he doesn't have the votes. That's the thing. They don't have the votes, and I don't think they'll ever have the votes. But he wants something magical to happen. Is he smoking something? What's wrong with him?
that's that's a hell of a rhetorical question. What's wrong with him? Okay, the man the man is an egomaniacal idiot. Okay,
Yeah. All
that's
right.
what's wrong with him. Okay, uh, okay. Nah, he
I
really.
mean, he wants the Save Act so bad. He wants the
Well,
Save Act
they
so bad.
keep on doing these things. The same behavior. They just like Proposition 13 and the way they sold it, nearly
Mhm.
50 years ago in the 70s, right?
Mhm.
Just like the civil rights. Remember that the Civil Rights
Yeah.
Act, and they said, yeah, we're going to save civil rights, and this is in the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr. And
Yeah.
all that. That's the way they sell it. So this is the
Yeah.
Save America Act, and they meant what it is. The missing phrase that should follow is Save America for White People Act.
Yeah.
Okay, it
Well,
should be
but here's the thing about this act that I don't get. It's really out to get this problem that exists only in Donald Trump's head, that
no.
undocumented workers, undocumented people, the people he likes to call illegals, vote, and they don't. It's not a problem. Those undocumented people do not vote, at least in to the excess where you need something like this that would require ID, to the beyond a driver's license, and go on to passport and birth certificate, and then throw in this omnibus hate America. It's really,
Election fraud has occurred, and in
yeah,
most of the cases where people were caught and penalized, right,
yeah,
they
it's
were voting Republican.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Well, yeah,
that's the
and
reality.
see,
Okay.
this is my thing. Yeah, this is why I say in my show, my dad would have come back and would have voted for Trump because Trump likes dead people voting, and that's one of the things. All these voting irregular. There are no voting irregularities. This is what Trump does. He has a bill to solve a problem that doesn't exist, not
Well,
to the
yeah, but
extent that
why
needs
does
this.
it work? Okay, the question is always why does it work? If if
Why?
if this is so crazy, right?
Yeah,
Because it's not based on fact at all, right?
yeah,
Why do they get behind it and push the issue even though they don't have the votes? They still get behind it and they still push the issue even though they
Because
don't have the votes. And
because
that's
what
because it works for a significant number of Americans.
right,
That's the
right.
reality. Then
Regard
why do they believe in this stuff? And it's
yeah.
because they don't want us here. It's real
Yeah.
simple. Okay?
Oh, you
Okay.
hurt my feelings. You hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Whether they pass it or not, they talk about it. They keep it alive. You fan the flames, and people say, "Oh, what are we going to do now? Oh, remember that thing to get those undocumented people out,
Well,
those illegals out?
at
Let's
this
do
point,
that."
there are MAGA devotees, right? Who are quickly turning around and leaving MAGA, yeah, and
Yeah.
criticizing Trump openly and loudly. Okay, I
Yeah.
don't know if that means that they're going to vote for Democrats. I think it means that they probably aren't going to vote for Republicans. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. Okay,
Yeah.
but the reality is, it doesn't change the other questions still remain. Does it change them? Does it motivate them to see that racism is one of the core elements
No,
of these political times? Okay,
they like
does it
racism.
force them to look at that? Okay,
Yeah.
and act and think more judiciously
Yeah.
about how they view people of color.
They want racism. That makes the world go round, and so it's sad, but that's what
Well,
we're dealing with.
because it's related that
Yeah.
most nationalist movements have ethnic and racial components.
Yeah, ethnic purity, that's what they want. And yeah, they didn't want to see me coming out of my mother's birth canal to claim the 14th Amendment. Here I am, 14th Amendment. Here I come. They want to get rid of that. So I don't know. This is part of the theme, part of English only, part all the things that they
All of it,
have.
all of it,
Yeah.
man.
All right, now going back to the Chavez story, some people I've talked to, they said, "Oh, isn't this funny? Right at a time when Latinos are under the gun, their ICE is rounding up people. They dump this. This is some conspiracy theorist idea. I think it's coincidental, but you know, I don't think the Times is out there trying to get Latinos, but I think they're just trying to get the truth. But it all happens in this coincidental era where we're going after people of color, brown, black, Asian, all of us.
Yeah.
And that's the situation. Okay, hey, let's talk war real quick. $200 billion. Can we afford a $200 billion war? We want $200 billion. We could have paid for some health care with that.
They're gonna vote for it. They're not gonna vote for it, but they're not gonna vote for unmasking ICE and forcing them to wear body cams
Yeah.
and all that. They're not gonna do that. So
Well, yeah,
that's where we're at. I mean,
yeah.
I keep telling people, look, just focus on what we need to do for November. Okay, not just the lower house. We got to fight to try and get the Senate too. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think pretty much. I mean, Donald Trump's numbers are plummeting. This war is not
I
popular.
don't care. I
Pe-
don't. I
pe-
really don't care that much about his numbers plummeting. I want to know what's happening at the state level. I want to know
oh yeah.
those things. Okay.
Well, I see that. But what about what happens with if Donald Trump continues this war and does nothing about gas prices? I mean, how much are you paying over 6 yet?
I haven't checked. I haven't had to load up. Have you?
Yeah, I paid. I went to 520, and I get cheap gas. I only
Yeah.
get the cheap gas. I'm at 520,
Yeah.
and it's painful because I see that I was paying what 3.99 about a week and a half ago, and now I'm at
Yeah.
five. I'm now
Yeah.
at
Where you are,
520.
yeah, you can get it that
Yeah,
cheap.
yeah,
I was around 409 3 weeks ago, and I was 509 2 weeks ago. So in
yeah,
less than a week, it went up a buck,
yeah. And California has all these other taxes and all that,
which
but
really
still,
ticked me off.
yeah.
We
But
gotta.
still, it's the cost of things is outrageous, and I think more people need to. I
Beef
know,
prices are still crazy.
yeah,
You can so. So you gotta eat pork if you're a meat eater.
Well,
You
I
got
would say
even chicken is up now. Okay, so go
it,
vegan and go cheap.
yeah, you know it's good. Tofu. Tofu is good. Extra firm. No more expensive than soft. Extra firm and soft, all the same. You know, that's a soft tofu can be good in some instances. In some instances, you'll want soft tofu.
I like the vegan Chinese stuff is pretty good. The problem is a lot of people have diet issues, kidney issues as
Yeah. Oh yeah.
well,
Hey,
and it's the sauces that mess you up.
yeah, Dan. Did you hear me talk about my gastric attack earlier in the week?
No.
I did my show. Go back on Tuesday. I talked about it. I did my show on Monday. Came back home. Started eating a bean soup because I'm vegan. You say, "Oh, are you virtue signaling, Emil?" No, I'm eating beans. I'm signaling an environmental disaster in about 10 hours. No, here's what happened. I got this gastric attack.
Ah,
Yeah, like at 1 in the morning, and I had to go to the emergency room. It
whoa.
was, yeah. They did a CAT scan. They did an ultrasound. I am not pregnant, so thank goodness for that. But it was painful. It was still painful.
So how did they
Still
relieve
painful.
it?
They gave me they actually the ultrasound when they pounded my stomach with that thing that they do the ultra that helped a little bit. I didn't get gassy, but there was some relief putting pressure on it. And then they gave me drugs, of course, drugs, and then it subsided. But man, I was
But
I think
it was definitely acid or gas.
no I excuse me I know it was a gallbladder.
Ooh.
Excuse me. It was a gallbladder, and so everyone's talking about, oh well, you got to get rid of your gallbladder, you don't need it. Hey, I want to decide if I need it or not. I know it doesn't do a heck of a lot, but I'm going to be total complete man. I don't want to give away my gallbladder. I mean, I'll let them take my gallbladder if they're going to put it in the Smithsonian. Yeah, that's when I'll
Yeah.
give you my gallbladder. But
No. The gallbladder is the 2000 the millennial the version of tonsils. In the 50s,
yeah, actually,
everybody
no,
had
the
tonsils in
appendix.
the 50s.
The appendix is you don't need your appendix
Appendix too.
either.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't
that's
need
right.
any of that.
That's right.
So anyway, so I had a rough day Tuesday, had severe pain, and
Oh
then I
man.
finished off my show Thursday, and now and Wednesday was bad because as I was recovering because the Chavez story came out, which was just it was just terrible.
So, what
Hey,
was the cause? What was the cause of your gastric attack?
I think no one knows for sure, but I think it's because I eat a lot of ginger. Because if one spoonful of ginger is good, then two or three is just as good. So I just load up on ginger, and I make my own ginger beer. I take you know
Oh, that's good
hop
stuff.
I take hoppy water, and I put ginger beer, and I put a little ginger, organic ginger powder, and then I put maple syrup, and I stir it up, and it's like a mocktail, and it foams up just like a head of beer, and it's delicious. So that's my mocktail. It's non-alcoholic, but if you overdo it on the ginger, you will feel the
We love
pain.
ginger in our household too.
Yeah,
And I still make ginger beef. It's one of my favorite things to cook.
ginger beef. Yeah, yeah, ginger. And I and
I make ginger
I
tea. I have
yeah,
ginger all the time.
ginger, and I'm eating ginger, the powdered organic ginger that you scoop in, and if you scoop it into a carbonated beverage, it gives a head. To
Okay.
try that sometime, and and you add a little maple syrup, it replicates beer, and you could hold it up, and people think you're drinking beer, and all you're drinking is a maple soda with a little head, a ginger maple soda. Anyway, let's wrap up. Oh, one more thing on the war. Troops, we're getting troops. 4,500.
Well, he has been asked several times whether or not sending in ground troops is an option. He said it's not off the table; it's on
Yeah.
the table. Okay, so it's going to happen. It has to happen. if they want to try to stop, right, the blockade
Yeah.
of the Strait of Hormuz. It has to happen. There's no way that you can stop, because they can fire from high positions
Yeah.
inside Iraq
Yeah.
right into the strait.
But this is why they want 200 billion, because every time you send a $300,000 plane that gets shot down by a $10,000 drone, you lose
An
money.
F-35, they almost lost an F-35, and
Yeah.
an F-35 is worth more than 300 million, dude. I mean, I think
Yeah.
they're probably closer to 2 billion each.
Oh man. Well, this is the thing. Uh, I mean, they're fighting a forever guerrilla war over there in Iran, and we're fighting, big boy, big dollar, high tech war, and we're losing. We're winning militarily, but when you add in all the other things, if we're winning militarily so much, why can't we just define the terms of victory and then leave? We can't, because they got the straits, and they've got the straits over our head. So. Uh,
Got some stats on the F-35,
yeah.
and as of July 2024, I don't know why they don't have more recent stats on it, but there's 102 million for the F-35C.
102 million. Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
kind of, hey, but still, if it gets taken down by $100,000 drone, you're on the losing end of that bargain. That's not a good. I mean, if they come at you with six, you better have like 10 sticks. You can't have like $100,000 airplane, because
Oh,
then,
what I was talking about when I said billions was it's the total projected cost for the entire F-35
oh
program.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I just think that Trump made a major mistake by going in for, listening to Netanyahu and not talking to anybody. And now, Congress is mad at him. The American public is mad at him. Uh, I don't know how he survives. And, I don't, I, I just don't see a way out of this, except unless there's a truncated effort by declaring, "Hey, we won," and just lying his way out of it. We won this war. Did you know that we won? Hey, shut up, we won. That's how he gets out of it.
No,
Netanyahu, take
he'll
care of
do
it.
a pullout. He'll do a pullout that is even more dramatic in impact
Yeah,
than the Biden pullout of Afghanistan,
yeah, or
and
the
it'll be quieter
yeah,
than the U.S. pullout from Saigon
yeah,
in '75.
and it wouldn't be as costly as the pullout of Stormy Daniels. So
Oh
I
man,
don't know. No, then nothing happened. Nothing happened.
yeah,
Nothing
there's nothing to
happened.
see here. No, it's really ridiculous. The other thing you should mention is that even when people ask the comparison, right, between the invasion, the potential invasion of Iran, and the comparison to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, he
Yeah.
immediately says, "Well, Zelensky is the problem, right?
Zelensky,
Putin is
oh
a lot
man,
more ready to negotiate than Zelensky."
he loves Putin, and he'll never back Zelensky. He loves Putin. I mean, that doesn't make sense. All right, what?
I don't think it's about only about love. I
It's
think
not about
it's fear.
fear. Well, it's true. One on one in a cage fight, Donald Trump. He'd have to send in Marquane
Uh,
Mullen,
as as
bringing my seconds to fight.
as crotchety as he's gotten, Putin was a very proficient judoka. So
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up the Oscars. We had Autumn Durald Arkapow, the cinematographer. When I first heard of her when she was nominated, I thought she was a Philippine based cinematographer, like the Philippine cinema. I didn't realize she was a Filipino American. And I think we've reached a point here now where we have to distinguish between Philippine or Filipino American, because it's not interchangeable. Just like, Chinese American, not interchangeable. And we got to, prevent people from making that assumption that, oh, you're Philippine from the Philippines. No, no, I'm American. And Autumn Durald Arkapaw, Australian, Arkapaw was her name. Her husband's from Australia. Durald is her father's name. I think it's a Creole black name. Her mother is Filipino. She was born in L.A., grew up in the Bay Area. She's Filipino American,
Yeah.
So uh, I'm surprised. I feel bad, ashamed that I thought she was Filipina from the Philippines because we all think that sometimes, but she's Filipino American and first woman, first Filipino American cinematographer to win an Oscar. Congrats to her.
Yeah. What made you think that she was Filipino? Did you look it up, or did it come to
No,
you?
it just this is what worries me because I didn't look it up. I just the knee jerk reaction was, oh, cinematographer that level. She must have had work in the Philippine cinema and was
Well, what made you
handpicked.
think she was Filipino, though? Either.
That's what I mean. That she was working in the Philippine cinema in the Philippines and had the wherewithal to rise in Hollywood here because of that background. No, she rose up here as a Filipino American. She's a gifted cinematographer, and it was my assumption because you don't hear of Filipino cinematographers, and I think it says that we need to start talking in terms of Filipino American because when we leave out the American part, we're left with, oh, you're Filipino from the Philippines. No, 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 American,
What made me
Filipino
think
American.
that she was Pinay,
Mm-hmm.
at least in part, was
Mm-hmm.
her last name.
Arkapow. Well, her husband's
Because
from,
that
yeah.
lexical construction is typical of northern Luzon surnames.
I don't know if her husband is Filipino. I know her husband is from Australia. That's all I know. I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah,
he's ethnic Filipino, but I know she was born mixed race Filipino,
yeah.
L.A., grew up here, and went to school, Loyola Marymount. Worked her way up. Her husband's a cinematographer, but I just think this is if I'm a Filipino and they say, oh, the Filipino journalist, and they can easily think, oh, am I Philippines? No, I'm Filipino American. Um, I know. I mean, this goes back to the idea: are we Filipino enough for the Philippines? Right? Are we American enough for the Americans? But we should call it. So we should add the appendage Filipino American or American Filipino because I think it matters.
Okay.
But
Yeah. See,
Arkapow,
it's really interesting because I saw that last name as
mhm,
one of the ways that the PAO, Agarpao and names like that,
yeah,
end in PAO, but they're pronounced the same way as Arcapao.
I thought the
And
same thing.
yeah,
It could be an Australasian thing too.
yeah, they
Australia.
it says here Eastern Europe, but
Yeah.
I haven't seen that pattern in Eastern Europe. That PAW or PAO pattern in Eastern Europe. So
I think
I'm dubious about it. But
I
it's
saw
common
her
in
husband.
Indonesia. It's a common in Indonesia too. That construction.
Right. I saw her husband, and he didn't look Filipino, but who
Oh yeah,
knows? I mean, the thing is, Autumn Durald Arkapaw didn't make any. I mean, she was proud of her Filipino ness. Um,
yeah.
so was Zinzi Evans, Ryan, uh,
Kugler.
Ryan, yeah, the director.
Yep.
Yeah, his
Ryan Kugler.
Ryan Coogler.
Yep.
I've liked Ryan Coogler ever since Fruitvale Station, and there's just something about his style, his narrative style. So I'm glad he won, and now he didn't get shut out like Color Purple when it got 11 nominations in its year at the 58th Oscars, which I covered. That's how I know they got shut out. And
That
he,
was that was That was really bad.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, Coogler had the most nominations ever, 16, and came away with four big prizes. The the battle, Leonardo DiCaprio one got got six. I haven't seen that movie yet. I did see Sinners.
It,
I
it's
loved.
you know what? It's long,
Yeah,
but I was really surprised because at the end of it all, it didn't feel long.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, what the battle, one battle?
yeah, one battle at a time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
after another.
I did not see it, and I like Sinners. A lot of people. It's funny. I was hearing a lot of people say, "Oh, Sinners." I didn't like them going back, to the the meeting, or they could have ended it any number of places, and people talking, dissing Sinners. When I first saw it in the theater, one of the few films I see in the theater, because because post COVID, not so sure, but I loved Sinners. I loved everything about it, and so I'm happy that it was recognized, and also happy that Arkapow was honored as cinematographer, because all these other awards, sound, and you don't really have a film until you get the goods on film. Until you capture, you see it through the camera, and they did so, and it was her. So I hope this is a great thing for women, great thing for Filipinos. Our Pinoy hats off to Autumn Gerald Arkapow and to Ryan Coogler. So,
Yep.
all right. So, Dan, I finished off my one man show. And like I said, I'm going to probably come back and do it in a new version in September. I'm going off to some fringe festivals, excuse me. And um, I'm already, excuse me, I'm already adjusting some of it for when I do it in Atlanta and I do it in San Diego. So it'll be almost a new show. I mean, it's part of Emil Amok 69 or 69 Emil Amok. Less news, more life.
All
So,
right.
excuse me. And I'm trying to let's see. Oh, I'm going to be at Roosters in
That's
Sunnyvale,
right.
March 25th,
Yeah,
8 p.m.
but you're only doing a nickel, man. You're doing five.
Yeah, I'm doing five. So part of a competition. If you can go, you can vote for me. Uh, at Roosters, tickets, I think $12 in advance. Uh, um, doors open at 7:30. Show starts at 8. And if I win, I go on to the next round. I've only done theaters. I've never done. Well, I've done some comedy clubs, but never as a feature or as a host. And so hopefully I'll get to, or certainly not as a headliner. So hopefully I'll get
Woo.
to get my foot in the door at Roosters, and I'll be able to at least feature or host or do something at Roosters. Have you been to Roosters in Sunnyvale? Rooster T. Feathers?
No.
Nice club right there if you drive down there, you'll drive by the 49ers stadium as you go, or I did at least, as you go to Sunnyvale. But Sunnyvale's the South Bay, right? I used to work it in the 1980s. I think I went to Roosters once or drove by it. I bought a car once on El Camino in Sunnyvale, but Sunnyvale's changed. Sunnyvale's changed a lot.
Oh yeah.
Roosters still there. So March 25th, 8 p.m. Watch me compete with all the young comics. Uh, it's a it's their annual comedy competition, and so it should be fun. All right, so Dan, happy spring.
Well, that's right. My allergies have been killing me, man. I consider myself really lucky. I didn't go outside and do yard work today, so that may be the
Yeah.
reason that my nose is not running like crazy.
Yeah. I did some yard work the other day. My yard work is like I have like a harpoon, and then I try to harpoon an avocado from my tree,
Oh,
and it
that's right.
and it's really it's something. Did you know that avocados are hermaphroditic?
No kidding.
Yes, they're hermaphroditic.
I always
And
because my dad was always saying, this won't bear fruit because there's got to be a female around. And I said, how do you know
ah,
that one's a male? You know,
you look at the seed looks like a half a testicle, but
right on. Well, okay.
it's a hermaphroditic. And when they orgasm, guacamole, guacamole.
Okay, good. Oh
So,
no, I
I
can't
mean,
believe I waited around for that.
yeah, guacamole. Yeah, no, they are hermaphroditic, and in fact, they're hermaphroditic by time of day. So it's
Whoa,
uh, a.m. it could be woman, p.m. it could be male, and then they switch it
wow.
around. They switch it around, and they do it for what they call gender diversity, so that you don't get weird fruit, like
Wow.
yeah. I had to learn this because I was wondering why is my tree not flowering, and it takes a while. Sometimes it takes 10 years, and in fact we've
It
had
does
this
take a
tree.
long time, yeah.
Yeah, we've had this tree about 10 years, and now suddenly, bumper crop. I mean, we had to have about 6 dozen avocados. I mean, they're just coming because they flower, and when they flower, oh my God, they're flowering. So, you know,
Will it do that 2 seasons in a row? Does it have one season annually or what?
they have one season, but we had a good crop last year, but this year, oh my God,
Well,
the
that's 2 years in a row.
yeah,
So it has an initial crop. Yeah, that's like one of our peach trees. It has an initial
yeah,
crop, but our peach trees are well, the one that just died was
yeah.
really great because that thing had 2 seasons in a year.
Oh, that's good. I think we're getting two seasons, but I because there's still some avocados coming out. I see some little ones coming out. So, but I was surprised too about the AMPM
Yeah.
AMPM Mini
Wow.
Mart. It's sort of like the hermaphroditic
Wow.
convenience store there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a little science. I don't want you to leave
Sure.
with
Sure.
no good information.
Well, and avocados are one of the best fruits that you can. It is a fruit, I guess. The
It is very good.
best
Yeah,
fruits that you can eat.
yeah.
Good fat.
Well,
It has good fat.
good fat, but it's still a lot of fat that your you
Yeah,
know
it
your
is true.
liver has to process. But anyway, all right, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks for having
being
me on,
here, and thank you for your views on Caesar Chavez. They
Caesar
called him Caesar.
family. Yeah, we had some family members coming around state on a regular basis. So yeah,
Caesar and to talk about Dolores Huerta and Larry Itliong. And thank you, Dan. I'll talk to you again soon. God bless you. Say hello to the family. Take
thank
care.
you.
And
Say hi to your family as well.
yeah,
Hugs to Kath.
and we'll see you again. There he goes, Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend, College of Ethnic Studies, Asian American Studies, San Francisco State University. Always good to have him talk about the news. And he comes to my shows. I hope he comes to Roosters. It's not that far to go to Sunnyvale. If you haven't been to Sunnyvale in 20 years, it's different in Sunnyvale. I'm at Roosters, Sunnyvale, March 25th. Wednesday, March 25th, 8 p.m. Go check it out. Emil Amok in the comedy competition there. Happy to be there. Hope you can come join me. Get your tickets at roosterteethfeathers.com. And a hint, you save a couple bucks buying in advance. It's cheap, $12. I think 15 at the door. But check it out. I'll get my 5-minute set, and I'll do it. And hopefully, if you vote me in, I will advance. And maybe I'll advance to the point where they'll let me perform at Roosters on a regular basis, which is why I'm doing it. Because I do mostly theaters, but I'm looking for a home club, a place to call home, a place to hang out. I'd love to work at Roosters in Sunnyvale. So vote me in. Check it out. All right. That's it for our show today. Full show. We'll put it on YouTube at Emil Amok 1, and check out my column on Caesar Chavez on Facebook. Let's see, where is it? My column's on Inquirer.net, also on Substack at Emil Amok's Takeout. That's it for me. Man, I mean, my throat is raspy. I mean, I had that attack. I've recovered, but it means that everything has to be bland now. I'm drinking a bland vegan liquid diet because I just, want to watch what I put into my. The pain, the pain. Oh my God, the pain. Epidural. No, it wasn't that bad. No, it wasn't that bad, but still. All right. We like to close with a little loving kindness because we love everyone. We love even that guy. We love the guy. We love the guy that most of us all hate. Well, I don't know. Love might be taking it too far, but can I say respect? No, I can't say. That's a bad word. No. We don't want to see ill happen. So, loving kindness. The Sharon Salzberg version of the loving kindness meditation. Everyone's got to have a guru. She's got one of the best loving kindness meditations. It's simple. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal Kita.